Amazon, the world's biggest company. It's a behemoth that spreads across the globe, headed up by one of the world's richest men, Jeffrey Bezos. Bezos is a man who looks like he could be the villain in a Bond movie, and on closer inspection, he looks like a man who has the employer rights record of one. But Jeff and his empire are not alone. There's a trend of wealthy executives that find themselves on top of the pile because that pile is populated by exploited workers beneath them. This is how the rich exploit their workers. As the biggest company on Earth, Amazon is a good place to start when it comes to examples of high-level exploitation. Across the world, Amazon's workers have been rebelling against the conditions they found themselves in. At the time of this video, Amazon posted revenue of $121 billion for their last quarter. Despite this, there have been countless reports of workers being denied basic rights that could easily be afforded. In the UK, it was revealed that workers were choosing to urinate in bottles rather than use the toilet, as it was located too far away from their workstation. There are multiple accounts of similar incidents where employees felt like they weren't allowed to be ill, including those who were pregnant. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos most likely has easy access to a toilet whenever he needs it, although reports don't verify this. Presumably, Bezos also has working conditions that are safe. This luxury wasn't afforded to 6 workers in Illinois who lost their lives due to storms hitting an Amazon factory. Workers in the Midwest had said that they received no training in the event of very likely storms. They also reported that they were expected to work through severe storm warnings, getting paid or maybe dying. A terrifying dilemma that Amazon gives its employees. Safety and wellness is not something that Amazon can claim it's very up-to-date on. There's plenty of other examples of the giant corporation cutting corners when it comes to well-being. And this is much more than not offering yoga or nap rooms as part of Wellness Wednesdays. Stories from the warehouse floor indicate that the relentless number-crunching mentality of sales at all costs at Amazon have meant their warehouses have turned into pseudo-work camps rather than places of gainful employment. It's not going back to arguably the main sector for exploitation, retail. A fast-paced industry with low profit margins and plenty of competition makes this industry ripe for exploitation, and it often doesn't take too much convincing for companies to be taken up on this offer. The pandemic was a catalyst for protests, but even before this, there was growing unrest with workers. Statistics from around the world suggest that injury rates at Amazon are much higher than with other employers. Workers have described being treated like slaves or robots, and it's been revealed that the first 3 days of being sick pay nothing. Because of this, workers often turned up for grueling 10-hour shifts in a vulnerable, sick state. It's not just its workers it likes to exploit. It would appear that Amazon is also above the law. The New York Times investigated Amazon's human resources practices and found that employees were being fired wrongfully and benefits weren't being distributed in the correct ways. And it's not just Amazon that likes to exploit its workers. The trend appears to be very popular in today's business climate. In the past, companies like Uber and Deliveroo have got their workers to sign unintelligible contracts that are watertight in locking down rights. These contracts prompted an investigation by the UK Parliament as they appeared to be stopping employees from challenging the conditions they were working in. Deliveroo had a clause in its contract that explicitly stopped anyone from challenging their self-employed status. If they did challenge it, then the worker would need to foot the bill for all Deliveroo's legal costs. For more context, Deliveroo's revenue last year was 1.8 billion British pounds. One would assume that they are probably in a better place to cover legal costs than their low-paid workers. This clause in the contract meant that regardless of how they treated workers, the only thing the disgruntled employee could do about it was quit. Meanwhile, Uber, who insist that their workers must pass an English language test to work for them, produced a contract described by the UK Parliament as unintelligible. One can't help but wonder if the test included the definition of irony. Uber is in the big leagues when it comes to exploiting their workers. Claims have been raised in the past that their whole business model is based on this. The way they did this is very simple. Don't call your employees employees. It's hard for employees to get employment rights if they're not employed, right? Uber argues that this is part of the job. If you can't beat the gig economy, you'll end up joining it. Before COVID, Target employee and liaison for protests Adam Ryan said that the message he and other workers were getting was, "We're not real workers. We shouldn't expect things like healthcare or even respect or dignity." This isn't considering all of the immigrant workers who get even worse treatment. Often these workers are undocumented, which makes them perfect for cleaning and other manual labor jobs that most people don't want to do. Because they lack paperwork, they're essentially held ransom and can be made to do almost anything by their employers because they run the risk of being deported at any minute. So this means Target and others can pay less than minimum wage and force undocumented workers to clean 6 or 7 days a week with no overtime pay. It's a perfect scam where everyone's a winner, apart from the workers, of course. There are even reports of managers literally locking workers in the store to do extra jobs, creating some sort of sick department store prison. The only way that it's likely to stop is if people vote with their wallets and stop buying from these mega corporations. If you'd like to see more videos like this one that take an in-depth look at the horrifying greed of the rich, then go ahead and like and subscribe. Until next time, this is Eat the Rich.